Hey, how's it going, young magicians? It is I, Houdini on PC, here with my very first video. Today's video is going to be about how to improve at Arsenal. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into the first tip. Tip number 1 is map knowledge. I know there's a lot of maps out there, and this might be a little bit hard to remember, but some of the maps are more common than others, such as Sandown, Beach, Hillside, Street Corner, Matrix, and Tuscan. So you can easily learn where your enemies are most likely to spawn from. So as an example, when there's two teams, you spawn on opposite ends of the map. Depending on who wins the initial fight, you can easily tell where the opponents will be spawning due to the position of your teammates. If your teammates are very close to their spawn in the initial fight, then they're going to be spawning behind you, where you just led your attack from. And on some maps, due to spawn camping, there are other spawn areas, so they could easily spawn in the middle or to the sides of the map where you usually wouldn't spawn. So try to remember where your opponents could spawn and try to check where your teammates are in certain positions so you can easily orientate yourself to where they might be spawning. Tip number 2 is crosshair placement. So if you played any form of shooting game before, you should be very familiar with this term. Crosshair placement is basically where you have your crosshair. So basically you want your crosshair at the head level so you can get the critical damage. For beginners, most people actually look at the ground due to them not knowing that you should look at your crosshair. You usually orientate yourself more at like your surroundings, so like you can easily, I guess, spot players somehow. If you look into the ground, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird beginner move, but try to have your crosshair at head level. You can practice this by, for example, going on Tuscan. In the initial spawn fight, there are 2 stores you go into. They're very, very, very good at like helping you with crosshair placement, because if you lose that fight, you usually lose the initial off spawn fight, and it's not nice losing the off spawn fight, right? Because then you easily can orientate yourself if you have map knowledge, and you can easily get kills over and over and over, and you get into a movement, right? So try your best to think where your crosshair is instead of looking into the ground. My third tip to you is kind of important. It's gun knowledge. Even if, what's it called? I even struggle with this. Some weapons have a higher fire rate than others, and if you know these fire rates, you can easily win fights. So you have different playstyles for which weapon you play with. Let's take an example. You wouldn't play long range with a shotgun, like ever, because it has such a pattern that you wouldn't do so much damage. So if you, every time you switch weapons, start noticing, oh, okay, I'm playing with this gun now, then you should be able to like easily have different playstyles. Like, for example, let's take Sandtown. On that map, it's a very long range based map, but sometimes you do tend to get these shotguns. So you might want to like take cover, which I'm going to go over in the next tip. But you can easily use your surroundings to differ your playstyle. As an example, if you have really high fire rates on your guns, you might not want to hide, since you can easily spray your opponents. And talking about spray, recoil is a very important factor in so many guns. Some of them have high recoil patterns, such as the AK-47. You don't really want to spray with it long range. You want to get more of a close range, since it's so much better. So start learning your guns, guys. It's very, very important. So tip number 4 is using your cover correctly. In a map such as Matrix, there are a lot of boxes and cover you can hide behind. So it makes sense because this map is so small. So you need to use your cover as your advantage, because in a map such as Matrix, you can die off spawn again and again and again, because people are very good at map knowledge. But let's take during my Matrix, I'm not sure it's going right now, but it was one of the first ones. I did a lot of cover control. I'm gonna call it cover control, because when I had to reload, I would usually take cover so I wouldn't get shot while trying to reload. And the same, like, you can use cover effectively if you strafe. You can easily strafe out, get your kill, without taking any shots. I mean, if there's more people, it might be harder. I think that was one of the clips as well in there, where I tried to peek 3 people and I get completely obliterated. But yeah, you wanna be fast and familiar with the movement you're pulling off, because you could die like I did in one of the clips. Another way to use cover correctly is if you're 1v1ing against a person. If you try to bait their shots out, let's take Tuscan. There's a lot of cars on there. If you peek them like tiny bit every once in a while, you can easily bait out shots, which means that you have more bullets in them in the long run, which means that you'll basically have an advantage because they've done more shots than you have. Tip number 5 is movement. This is one of the best tips I can give you right now. Practice your movement. Sometimes lobbies tend to bug and you're stuck in a lobby until everyone leaves. You can use the opportunity to practice your movement. So when you've shot the amount of people you need to shoot, you can just take out your knife, start jumping around, learn ways to get over to places that you wouldn't be able to do usually. So in no time, you can easily outmaneuver your opponents. However, please don't depend on it, because at the end of the day, it comes down to who has the better aim that's going to win the fight. However, you could also use movement like tanqr does. I'm going to show a clip on the screen right now. He uses his mechanical skills to creatively get into places without taking the preferred route, right? So as an example, he jumps onto a barrel. He could have taken the long ramp, but that would take so much more time and he wouldn't have high ground. And the other opponents, they didn't expect it. He gets 3 kills, or I think it's 3 kills, yeah. And there's a clip after that where he goes from the top down on the wall and then jumps over to the other high ground. You can also do it from the floor. I couldn't find the clip of him doing it because I was just quickly scrapping the clips together because I didn't want to take too much of tanqr's videos, because he's a great man. You should definitely go watch him yourself. But yeah, if you can easily outmaneuver your opponent, you can easily win these 1v1s or team battles because you get so much like freedom, if you can call it that. My last tip, which is kind of like a bonus tip, is aim. If you're really struggling with your aim, there are some aiming simulators out there that can help you get your aim a bit better, or really good aim. However, I wouldn't recommend buying them solely for the purpose of playing Arsenal. These aiming simulators are developed for games such as Fortnite, CSGO, Valorant, COD. These are Kovacs, Aim Beast, and Aimlabs. There are tons of others, but these are the most popular ones. It's kind of hard to set up as a new person, so if you guys want to see a tutorial on it in the future, comment down below. However, try to not go towards them because they could be really tricky. However, that brings this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if any of the tips helped you, be sure to drop a like and maybe a sub, as it would truly help me out. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.